Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I just saw Gilberto Ramirez Azurdo versus Jesse Hart. Man, that was a good fight. That was a good fight. Without the knockdown, I had it 7 rounds to 5. Um, it would have been 115, 113. Gilberto Ramirez. Jesse Hart got knocked down early in the fight. I noticed Jesse Hart doesn't really have great defense. He gets hit to the body. And of course, Gilberto, he works the body like nobody's business. Jesse Hart got knocked down in round 2. He actually won round 1. But Gilberto was doing some good work again, jabbing to the body and that kind of thing, trying to catch Jesse Hart. Jesse Hart was kind of more moving around the ring. A lot of bouncing. Not a lot of angles, and he would throw the jab. It was unusual to see him throwing the jab at a southpaw, but anyway. And then in the second round, Gilberto first of all caught him with a lead left followed by a right hook. And when he realized that, he just duplicated it. He did lead left, right hook, lead left. And that pretty much put Jesse Hart down. Jesse Hart was wobbly because he popped back up instead of just kind of sitting on his knees for a minute, taking a knee and kind of steadying himself before he gets up. He sort of jumped back up, so he was on wobbly legs for the round, but he still managed to maneuver himself somewhat well. I took some punishment for a couple of rounds, and then he came back in the 6th round. He decided he was gonna fight back, and he started fighting back in the 6th round. He would be on the inside. The only thing with Jesse Hart, he really doesn't have a lot of combinations on the inside. He has that right uppercut, and he has a left hook to the head. And he was working the head of Ramirez a lot, not jabbing to the body at all. You can see he's an experience. Remember, this is a huge step up for Jesse Hart. So he had a lot to learn, and he learned a lot in this fight. But then the dog in him came out in rounds 8, 9. I think he took rounds 8 and 9, and I believe he took rounds 11 and 12. I think that's how it went. He really stepped it back up, and he didn't quit. He didn't quit in this fight. He took a lot of punishment to the body, He even stunned Zurdo a couple times in the fight. He just got very, very sharp, and he really started to fight back. I was hoping he'd stay in the trenches, and he basically more or less stayed at arm's length distance, but he started to fight Ramirez in the center of the ring instead of just moving wide in the ring and let Ramirez chase him down. In fact, there was a point in time when he backed up Ramirez. So Jesse has a lot of skill and ability and heart. I think it's just that he didn't have the experience. It was a big gap in experience. And I listened to him talk, and I thought, this kid, he talks a good talk, but can he back it up? And he proved that he could back it up. He just didn't have the experience that Gilberto Ramirez had. But he came out hard coming down to the end. But Ramirez, he's tough, man. He reminds me of Jose Luis Ramirez, southpaw as well, lower weight class. I think he was lightweight. And he's tough, man. Gilberto Ramirez is tough. He keeps coming. He could take a punch. He was tougher than Jesse. Jesse still had a lot of heart. Came back pretty strong in the later rounds. The thing was, it was still a little too late for him to really come back into the fight, but he really showed his mettle, and I think that's going to help him later on. Now, he had been dropped by Deshaun Johnson. I think I told you guys that in a video. And got dropped in this fight. So mentally, he has some work to do. Even Danny Jacobs, too, with having been tasting the canvas. There was a great fighter called Tito Trinidad, or Felix Trinidad, who also used to taste the canvas, at least in there, sometimes once in every fight. But Jesse came back from off the canvas, and he rallied back against a champion in Gilberto Ramirez. So He did very well. He should be very proud that he didn't fold. He took a lot of punishment though, and he still battled through it. So much props to him on that. I did predict that Ramirez would win this fight, so there I was. I got that one. And then we had Oscar Valdez versus the Filipino kid, the undefeated Filipino fighter, and that undefeated Filipino fighter was worth every bit. Was not to be underestimated, and true to form, man, that guy performed. I saw the fight highlights. I didn't see the whole fight. I saw his fight highlights, and he dropped Oscar Valdez, man. He caught him on I can't remember what shot it was. I think it was a left hook. But he caught him, man, and put him down. And those boys was dropping bombs throughout the fight. And that Filipino, man, he's tough. He's tough. Because Valdez dropped him in the next round. Then he hurt Valdez really bad later on in the fight. Valdez came back and poured it on, hurt him. There was a lot of to and froing. They're tough, high guard kind of boxers. They kind of have the spirit of Henry Armstrong without the defense. It's much more. They were more open to shots, but it was a good fight. Very exciting, and for guys who are like, I would say they're B level boxers. The champion and the challenger. The challenger, just like with Zurdo and Jesse Hart, it turned out that the challenger really never gave up, had a lot of grit. Filipino boxer was good stuff. It was really good stuff. That was a good fight as well. This fight, on the other hand, this heavyweight fight between Joseph Parker and Hughie Fury. This thing, I tried to watch it again a second time. Let me tell you the honest truth. The first time I watched it, I just couldn't watch it. I had to skip through it, just kind of skip through the rounds, because it's more or less the same stuff. I thought that Joseph Parker won the fight 10 rounds to 2, like the judges said. Tyson Fury, not Tyson Fury, sorry, Hughie Fury, I thought he got, I think it was the 4th round, I think he got, and some other round. I tried to rewatch the fight, and I just fell asleep, guys. I really fell asleep. The sloppiness of the fighters. Hughie Fury doesn't really hit Joseph Parker. He's kind of flinging out that jab there, flicking out the jab. And Joseph Parker, he's more of a brawler. I mean, he had a nice little jab there that he was jabbing to Fury's body, but for the most part, he wasn't cutting off the ring. He was just following Fury around and lunging in. And that kind of sloppy sort of boxing is just not my thing. The other 2 fights I watched the guys were not sloppy like that. I mean, even if they didn't have great defense, they weren't sloppy like that. And it's just took away. And, this European style of boxing sometimes can really be annoying. I mean, even Tyson Fury, at least he caught Klitschko. You know what I mean? Hughie Fury very rarely caught Joseph Parker. And Joseph Parker was the guy winging these big old looping shots, and he would catch Hughie Fury with them. Sometimes Hughie Fury would partially block him. I mean, it was just very sloppy, slapping shots by both fighters. Oh my God, it was horrible. But I have to go and watch it again. I picked Joseph Parker to win. I was right. They were trying to say it was an outrage that the judges scored a 10-2. One judge had it a draw. I just couldn't see it as a draw because Hughie Fury wasn't landing anything. I mean, he wasn't even keeping Joseph Parker at bay. Joseph Parker just lunged in and hit him. You're not supposed to be able to do that if you're really using the jab properly. And Hughie Fury, he would do the same thing over and over again. He would circle the ring in an anti-clockwise manner, and then when he's ready, he would go clockwise suddenly and then come back anti-clockwise. So, I mean, if Joseph Parker can figure out that he was going to go anti-clockwise again and jab him and then catch him with an overhand right, or double jab his way into there and then catch him with the overhand right and then hook to the body. I mean, rip shots to the body. But Hughie Fury was mostly getting into a clinch. That means that Hughie Fury couldn't fight on the inside. Joseph Parker also couldn't fight on the inside, so he would lunge in, maybe land one shot, and then it'll be a clinch. So this fight was just so, oh my God, horrible. Okay, but I guess for people who are interested and they're into that, and Joseph Parker represents their area of the woods. If you're from Australia or whatever, I guess you would like this fight. I didn't care for it. I told people on Pound for Pound Boxing Report I really didn't care for it. I picked Joseph Parker, and I said I really don't know why I'm picking him, but I just don't care for this fight. So there are just some fights where, I mean, it pushes your last nerve. I mean, if you love boxing, but it's really hard when the boxers are sloppy, like they're really sloppy. Okay, you know, and I'm hearing people talk about Hughie Fury's the future and stuff. Hughie Fury's not the future, man. This guy's way too sloppy. Like, they're both very sloppy, you know, and that's the problem. This was like, to me, this was like a club fight. This was like a club fight. There was no technique to these guys. I mean, oh my God, it was just horrible. But I guess it's part of boxing, and you guys sometimes to put up with that. You know, I think maybe this is how some people see how Floyd Mayweather boxes. Maybe this is how they look at it, like, with disgust. I just don't understand, because this is sloppy, though. This is sloppy. The problem I had was it's just so damn sloppy, and the guys, they don't do anything. Like, they don't know how to do things. That's the problem. There were no feints, none of that crap. It was just Hughie Fury throwing a jab, and Joseph Parker staying on the outside trying to not walk him down, but cut off the ring. He couldn't even cut off the ring on Hughie Fury. But he would catch him with a jab to the pit every now and then. And it just was round after round was the same thing. I mean, with Tyson Fury versus Vladimir Klitschko, at least Tyson Fury hit Vladimir Klitschko when Vladimir Klitschko tried to do something. Hughie Fury, this was a horrible fight. I mean, like, I don't know how to explain this, you know. One guy, he doesn't know how to get on the inside of the other guy. And the other guy, he's doing nothing. He's just kind of trying to maintain distance with his jab. And Joseph Parker should have just bulldozed this guy. He should have just run him through, because the dude doesn't even have a great jab, you know. And his counter right is not great either. So I just don't get it. I don't get it, man. But it is what it is. So that's the fights that I saw. I still have to go rewatch Fury versus Parker. I really would. I'm not looking forward to watching that fight, but I guess I'll have to discipline my mind to do so. Billy Joe Saunders versus Willie Monroe was a better fight than this. Let's just put it that way, because at least they had technique. This fight, oh my God. Anyway, those are all the fights I've seen. There's some other fights coming up, which is the Venezuelan guy. I forgot his name right now. It's terrible, but I forgot him. Venezuelan guy versus the English guy for the what is it, featherweight, lightweight? I can't remember. It's featherweight. For the featherweight title, I think it's the WBC or WBA, I can't remember. I forgot their both names, it just blanked out. I'm not going to be watching that live, but I hope you guys have a great night. A couple other things I just wanted to say. Concerning GGG versus Canelo, I know a lot of people pick GGG as the winner of the fight, but I have to ask you guys this question. You say that GGG landed a lot of jabs. I just watched the fight again sometime today. GGG landed a lot of jabs. Tell me this. Were they clean, effective jabs? By this I mean, if you have to slow it down to see if the jab actually hit or not, it ain't clean. It's not a clean, effective jab. If you have to use slow motion, so you have to slow down. Anytime you have to use slow motion to see if a punch landed, then it's not clean. It's not effective. Alright? Think about what I'm saying. So we're talking about clean, effective punches. Who was the guy that did that repeatedly through the fight? And that would be Canelo. GGG had his moments. He even had rounds where he was clean and effective. Round 9, he was clean and effective, especially with his jab. He was using power jab pretty well. But it wasn't often that he landed that power jab, if you really think about it. Even though he took charge almost the entire of round 9, he took charge of that round. That was his round. Okay? But Canelo still responded to him in that round and had some pretty nice, clean shots. And anytime he hit GGG to the body, he stopped. Round 10, he also had some clean shots on Canelo. There's not a dispute over those things. Round 11, he also had some clean shots. And round 12, he had his moment where he had some clean shots as well. Some jabs and some right hooks and some left hooks. So my question to you, though, is who throughout the fight had that? And you will realize it's Canelo again. Canelo, it's so tough for me to even give this fight to GGG. As much as people talk about GGG should have won this fight, I just don't see it. I don't understand. I've gone and watched the fight a number of times. I still don't get it. I really don't, guys. But anyway, I just wanted to say that if the shots were clean and effective, or clean, if they were clean shots, there's no dispute over the shot being landed. I don't understand how so many people are saying, I really can't understand it, that GGG won this fight. He finished strong. He finished strong compared to how he began. But Canelo, I mean, even the judges realized that. Canelo also raised his game, and he finished stronger than GGG finished. And because he had that defense, GGG couldn't land the punches he really wanted to land, because Canelo knew what to do when he was getting on a ball or he was getting some momentum. Canelo knew what to do to him. So I don't know. I just don't get it, man. I don't see why this fight is not a 9-3 or 8-4 or a 10-2 to Canelo. I just don't. I mean, GGG, I have it as GG winning 3 rounds. And even the rounds that I thought he won, except for round 9, it's dubious. I mean, it's up in the air. Because Canelo did a lot of good work in those rounds as well. So I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what people are seeing. I don't know how people see boxing. It puzzles me, man. It really does. You know, I was just listening to Kenny Porter. He had an interview, I think it was yesterday or today. And Kenny Porter goes on to say that he thought that it was a draw, but it favored GGG. And I'm like, dude, how? How does that favor GGG? I just don't get it. Like, every time I hear this, it still is perplexing to me. You know, I've watched the fight a number of times, and every time I'm like, why are you guys saying that? GGG was not that effective in this fight. He wasn't. I mean, for crying out loud, if Jacobs beat him, what are you saying about Canelo, man? I just don't get it. Even the punch stats seem really whack, because when I go and actually look at the jabs that land, I'm wondering, are these people thinking that GGG landed these jabs that are blocked? Even Oma Fight Camp came out and said, look, man, when you think GGG's hitting a punch to Canelo, he's actually blocked the punch or caught it or parried it. So I'm not quite sure what these guys are watching at. I remember the Timothy Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao, the first fight, a lot of people called it a robbery, and then when they saw the fight again and they really analyzed it, they realized it was a closer fight than they thought it was. Up to this day, people still do not acknowledge the fact that Timothy Bradley actually beat Manny Pacquiao in that first fight. Nevertheless, Pacquiao's won the second and the third. So I must admit, maybe he lost the first fight, because if Bradley actually beat Pacquiao the first time, he'd be able to beat him the second time and the third time, and he didn't. So there you go. Maybe he did lose the first fight. So maybe people are right about that one. But as to these fights that I just mentioned to you guys, and just my mention of Canelo versus GGG, I just thought those points I would bring up as I'm talking about these fights. Well, you guys have a great night. Tomorrow we'll find out what happened with the Venezuelan fighter and the British guy. I forgot their names. It's terrible, but we just completely blanked out just a minute ago there. So, you guys have a great one.